Hello, it's alive with me again. It's a Saturday evening. I thought I'd do a live. Hopefully, everyone can hear me, and this will go on YouTube as well. So, as usual, people that are interested in anything that I've got to waffle on about, feel free to ask questions as usual. And before anyone asks a question, I will just waffle on, and then obviously, if I see a question, I'll try and answer it to the best of my 30 years plus of experience. And I've seen today, actually, changing the subject ever so slightly, but not really. I've seen today that Austria is going. Someone said that they was going to go into concentration camps if they don't take the you know what. Now that's interesting because back in the 80s, during my research, people such as remote viewers and clairvoyants and spiritualists, and even near-death experience people, etc., the resounding thing was concentration camps for our future, which at the time, obviously, I thought that was stupid, but as times rolled on, and I mean, if you go back and watch my live chats on YouTube from about a year ago, I was talking about exactly the same thing. So it's not, I'm not making it up. Unfortunately, it's gonna be a worldwide thing. It's, it's already happened in the future, and these people have seen it, and I've heard them talking about it, and so either they're all wrong and it's not going to happen, or they're right and it's happening. It's playing out right now, which is pretty scary. So there's only one way to stop it, from what I understand, and that's to do with the military. But if they're, without sounding rude, if they're I'm just doing my job, then that's it. That's it. Game over for everyone. But if they, say no and just stop, then that's the one way they can do it. But other than that, it's not going to look good. And then the end result would be X amount of years of going through trouble, and then from what they said, 300 years later, they obviously jumped 300 years. It was a artificial intelligence led planet, so you wouldn't even be able to go through a door. I remember someone saying, without the computer artificially knowing who you are and what you're doing. So I've just got some messages here now. I'll shut up talking. Have I seen a ghost from Dean? No, I haven't. I did a Ouija board, and it wasn't really a Ouija board. It was just scraps of paper. But and the answers came through, and it was just me asking them in my head compared to the person next to me. And so, if the answers were correct and it was only me asking them in my head and it went to the right things, I totally believe in ghosts, but I've not seen one. I don't think I would want to. Have you seen a ghost? That's more of an important question. Daniel has wrote, "Good morning from California. Have you seen a jinn?" Darwin said, "No," and I really wouldn't want to see a jinn. I mean, so there's some sort of debate whether the jinn are also, the Hat Man or the shadow people and things like that. Can they manifest themselves like that, just like a ghost can? So to me, a jinn is another light being, but obviously of more nefarious reasons that they do things. I think they live off of fear, from what I understand. Whereas the normal light spirits that enter us, when we're in the womb, they're just going about their thing, learning what they can from us, and when we die, they move on. But the jinns, no, I've not seen a jinn, and I really wouldn't want to see a jinn. Melly has wrote, "What's your thoughts about Roswell?" Good question. I'm sure everyone knows what Roswell is. Obviously, you do. And we're not talking about the movies or the TV shows based on it. Yeah, I chat to some of these researchers as well. Some of these people that you may know on Ancient Aliens and things. I chat a lot to people. And there's some things that they can't obviously put out, and then there's some things that they're sworn to secrecy on themselves by the people that's given them the information. But the main crux for me is the sort of the deathbed confessions of commanders, which have now come out since people have died. They're saying it happened. Then you've got the secretary that saw the piece of metal. Then you've got the son of Jesse Marcel. He saw this metal that when he scrunched it, sprang back. We've got metals like that now, but of course back in the 40s we didn't have that. And then you've got the doctor being asked for little 4-foot coffins by the military. But my main thing with the Roswell is I categorically, even though some of the main researchers out there that you'll probably know and love on TV have said that they think that they were shot down, I can't get strongly say enough that so supposedly there was two craft, but I don't think there was two craft. There's never been enough evidence of a second craft. So at least if we just go along with the New Mexico one, there was a lightning storm that night in July, I think it was, and the story goes though that military was trying to bring them down using radar, and they did. But the problem I've got with that is it's 2 weeks later and a rancher found it. If you're chasing or trying to shoot down an unidentified object that's flying around, under control, you don't leave it 2 weeks. Then you send your local person in, Jesse Marcel. Then he sees that it's a UFO and actually reports in the newspaper that it's a UFO. That wouldn't have happened if it was shot down by the military. That just wouldn't happen. So it was an accident somehow, and I think they were Zeta Reticuli little greys, not the Orion greys, the android type ones. I think that type was the Zeta Reticuli, the same ones that Betty and Barney Hill had. Thank you for the rose. Someone just sent. So yeah, I mean, if you've got a specific question about Roswell, let me know. If anyone's got any specific questions, because I do these live chats a lot, and obviously, if it's just a general question, then I end up just generalising things, and it's the same on each chat, each thing. So if you want to know something really specific, like I don't know, whatever it is, just ask, and I'll try and go more specific. Dees wrote, Bible, do you think it's real? Yes, so to me, there's two parts of the Bible. There's the part that was written based on the ancient texts. The ancient texts, if you've watched any of my videos, they're real. No one's gone around, buried hundreds of thousands of these things, wrote a new language that only a handful of people can actually then decide. So the tablets are real, and the texts are real, and the texts actually say most of what is in the Bible, but not most, but a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible, the resting on the seventh day, Enoch. So if you read the Lost Book of Enki, Enki, although at the time he wasn't called Enki, I think he was called Enwa. They changed his name later on. Not us, but the Anunnaki changed his name once they realised he was going to be on Earth a lot longer. But anyway, so Enki, on the seventh day after they catalogue things on the first, second and third and fourth, it's all in the Lost Book of Enki. So if you read what they did on the first day, they actually describe what they did on the first day, second day, I can't remember off the top of my head, forgive me, third day, fourth day, fifth day, and then on the seventh day he said, I am going to rest, and from today onwards, every seventh cycle we're having a rest. And that's, so when you realise that that's a copy, so the Bible to me is part copied really badly from ancient texts, and then as it gets up more towards Jesus's time, it became people just adding stuff because the Anunnaki, ignore the beeping behind, please. So as it got nearer to Jesus' time, the Anunnaki weren't writing. There was no more text for them to copy from. So whoever was writing the original Bible added their own stuff in it, which worries me because supposedly the first Bible was written 200 years after Jesus had gone. So where they've got, Fred said this and John said that and he said that worries me, because obviously how, I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. How the hell is someone else going to know something that's 200 years prior? But with the tablets, if you watch the second from last video that I've just put up, I play an audio clip of the book of Lost Book of Enki, which has them saying virtually word for word what they actually said. So when it was typed as, hammered in, or however they did it with the cylinder seals and the tablets, with their texts that they wrote. They actually wrote everything. They wrote what they clasped arms and they patted each other's backs. There's so much detail in there, and so you can't argue with that. But when you get to the Jesus time, unless someone knew Jesus personally and walked around with him and recorded it, a lot of that stuff thereafter, I think, is a bit hit and miss, if that makes sense. It's just to me, that's the logic of it. Sorry. Moving on. Danielle has wrote, can you talk about the reptile aliens? Any thoughts? So there's different types of reptilian aliens, supposedly. I'll just go through the ones that they're supposed to be. So that you've got the ones that's lived on inner Earth, supposedly. And they're peaceful and they've already got spaceships, and they can fly away. And come back to Earth, and supposedly they're the ones that sometimes take people that go missing and never to be seen again, unlike the abductions. Then you've got another type out there that is not part of the Draco system. So there's a star system called the Draco system. So we call them anything where we've got our own names for star systems, we end up calling the race that. So the Zeta Reticuli is a star system called the Zeta Reticuli, and the Draconis star system, and Orion, and so on. So, but there's another supposedly reptoid race out there. Now, I am trying to remember the name of it. It was in the debriefing from President Reagan, if something Oid, I can't remember the name of it, forgive me, but they're supposedly bad. But then you've got the Dracos, which could be the same ones that was in the transcript from Ronald Reagan's briefing on UFOs or on aliens. So if you haven't already seen that or read that, go online, type in Ronald Reagan alien briefing, and it's supposedly from 1984. Now, whoever wrote that is right up there, is up with, if it's fake, is right up there with Linda Moulton Howe or Dr. Stephen Greer, in terms of knowledge. If it's not fake, then it's a damn good read, and it's so believable, because that's where they first talk about EBENs, which is extraterrestrial biological entities, and they describe them in that document, which is supposedly a leaked transcript of the briefing that Reagan had, or one of the briefings that Reagan had, and it talks about what could be the Draconians, Dracos, but they call it a different name. So, is there reptilians? There's enough, regardless of where they come from. Is there reptilians out there, possibly ruling Earth? Yes, possibly. Are they out there? I think there's enough evidence from whistleblowers as well as eyewitnesses, abduction people that's been abducted, and they can see a reptilian in there with them. So I think there's enough for me to say that there's probably reptilian aliens out there. And then you got things like the V show. You remember the TV series V, where you've got someone the same as X-Files trying to tell us what's going on. That's what my personal belief is, and it again goes back to the War of the Worlds was funded. Apparently, the TV radio broadcast was funded by a military, and so was the film. The first film called Day the Earth Stood Still was funded by the military for a reason. So sometimes they want things to get out there. You got Tom DeLonge, who was with Blink 142. I'm not American, so I don't really know the group, but he set up a thing called Academy for the Stars, and he had Luis Elizondo, if my name's correct, who worked for the military to do with UFOs and stuff, and they're trying to get the information out there. So sometimes people put the information in media in a different way to what we would expect. But saying that, the news recently, around the world, you can just have a look, and they're talking about aliens, and they're not making fun anymore of it. Back 10, 15 years ago, it'd be like, oh, anyone's seen a UFO, they're an idiot. But worryingly, the news is now making it seem like it's a really credible thing, Sky News and everything. So you've got to ask yourself, is that to do with Project Bluebeam, which is where they fake an alien invasion to get everyone to run into these concentration camps and say, protect me, and bang, of course. Now, if you look at SOM 101, if you know what that is, so that's Special Operations Manual 101, you can find it online. That explains. I can go into that if someone asks me to go into that, but that explains what the military does when a crashed UFO comes down. And the reason why I mention that is because there's the similarities of what's happening now. With the solar flares, and I'm going to use my words carefully. I worry that seriously that amount of solar flares in the last year, and for my lifetime, hardly anyone ever mentioned the solar flare, and now suddenly, and it's going to bring down the power, and it's going to bring down the internet. Yeah. So if you want me to talk about the SOM 101, let me know, and I will. Otherwise, I will waffle on. Okay, Dwarves wrote, yeah, they are made of smokeless fire. They are creatures like humans with free will. I'm guessing you're referring to the jinn there. Sometimes I get behind on these messages because I try and give a thorough explanation of something. Did you think they exist in Slough? Do you think they exist in Slough? I'm guessing you're referring to aliens. Don't know. Haven't been to Slough for a long time. Long time. Okay, Justin wrote, do you think RH negative Nephilim bloodline or Draco bloodline? Nephilim. See, if it was Draco, that means they would have had to have done something to us on a large scale. Because obviously the ancient texts already talk about the Anunnaki creating us. I mean, that's, we have to admit that that's got to have happened because, we've got fused chromosomes, which is not normal. And, suddenly we were here and there's a missing link. So just the logic alone says the Anunnaki created us, and it's written in their tablets. So they created us. So my opinion is the RH negative is their actual own blood type. So when they created us first, the first Adam and Eve in South Africa, they were they used DNA basically as opposed to breeding with the Neanderthals or the hominids that was there at the time. So later on, 100,000 years later, as it says in the text, the Anunnaki started to breed with the humans that they'd created before. And I think that's where the Nephilim comes into it. And I think that's where the lesser bloodline, such as the RH negative, would have come into, because it's a foreign blood type that shouldn't be on Earth, or shouldn't be certainly in humans. So somewhere along the line there had to have been an injection of it. And obviously there's no mention of the Dracos in the Anunnaki's texts, so they would have had to have come after the Anunnaki, otherwise the Anunnaki probably would have had a fight with them, I'm sure. So if the Dracos did come, the logic would have been they would have come after, and by then, humans were populating the whole planet. So then they would have had to go around and or select a certain amount of people, if it was the Dracos, and do something to them to create the RH negative. I can't see that happening. I think it's more probably the Anunnaki's blood type than Dracos. Expected has wrote, have you researched the RA mineral from LL Research, also known as Law of One? I've heard about it. I'm not an expert, I won't lie. So I would rather someone else that's got more knowledge on that talk to you about that, I'm afraid. Sorry. Melly's wrote, thank you. Sean's wrote, do you remember Truthism? Do you remember Truthism? Not sure what that is. Sorry, I've not heard that word before in in sort of my context. David Clarkson's wrote, far too many airline pilots have seen them. Not sure now, I'm so far behind. So if you do say something, if you just put a note on what it was that he was referring to, because we talked about jinns and we've talked about Anunnaki and Draco, so I'm sorry, I'm not sure which one. Warlord has wrote, what do you believe happens after death? So the entity that joins with you, as it says in the Quran, and even the Quran is a copy of the ancient texts. I was talking on some of my videos that I think Alalula is Allah, the first God on Earth, the first person, or first Anunnaki on Earth. But they, even the Quran has things that's right that obviously the normal Bible doesn't bother taking from. To me, eating pigs. The bit where that says it's cannibalism, pretty much is what they say, is I think probably more correct, because sorry, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but is because the Anunnaki supposedly created pigs, domestic pigs, because they started domesticated things around the time, which mainstream actually agree with, around 10,000 years just after the flood. When I say 10,000 years, that's 10,000 years from now, not BC. Anyway, so supposedly the Anunnaki created the domesticated pig from wild boar and humans, which would make absolute sense, because if you look at what the pigs have in common with humans, the teeth, the liver, there's a huge list, absolutely huge, far more than a monkey or an ape has got, absolutely far more. Skin, everything. So that would make sense. So anyway, going back to the what happens after death. Sorry. So as I say, the Quran also says that your spirit joins with you 3 to 4 months. So it does. It's an entity. We can't see it, but our visual range is absolutely minuscule compared to what is out there. There's visually, I've mentioned this before. Even microwaves are classed as visual frequencies. So pretty much everything is a frequency, and we can only see a tiny slither of it. So that's not to say that there's not entities sitting right beside you right now. There could be, but we just physically can't see them. So anyway, so this entity joins with you when you're being born and stays with you. It's basically a hard drive, but it's a living entity. Sometimes it can talk to you in the night, or if you meditate. Sometimes it can leave your body, and it joins with the pineal gland, which is actually the third eye, Horus's eye. All makes sense. And then it can come back. So when you have a near-death experience, that spirit, which is now a copy of you, leaves your body, and then depending whether or not you have fulfilled your agreement, which is, when I say your agreement, it's the entity's agreement. So prior to them joining your body, they go in front of a council. So this is your soul contract. You've probably heard people talking about this many years back. So there is a thing called a soul contract. So basically, you're asked to do, or you're suggested, this is a person that you're going to join with. This person's future is going to be XYZ, and this is what we want you to learn, because that's all they're doing is they're learning. So if you are banged up, like there was this poor guy, I remember the story, it was fairly recently, banged up in a car accident, literally arms and legs broken and everything, went into a near-death experience and went up and was told by other light beings, your job's not done. And this person remembers saying, no, please, I don't want to go back. They say, you haven't finished your job, whatever the job was. So next thing he knows is he's sapped back into this body, it's all banged up. And he carries on life, and he starts teaching people. I think he was going around schools, even though he was in a wheelchair and everything else. He started teaching people. So that probably was his job, because before that he said he was, nobody special. So there is so anyway, going back to what actually happens with when you die. So if you die and that's it, you've got two, not choices, but two options really. One is stay around here, so just be a ghost. And when I say stay around here, it literally is here. You know, it's on Earth. You can zap off to another planet straight away as a spirit, as an entity. You can manifest yourself back to how you looked when you was younger. You know, what your best is what they say. Or you can be an orb and float around and whatever else. So that's you crossed over. So at that point, you're there. That's you still. You know, your copy of you, your memories, everything. And you do have regrets as well. And part of the soul contract is do not kill yourself. Do not commit suicide. That's a big no-no. That's what they tell you not to do before the spirit joins. Anyway, so then. Trying to regain my train of thought here, sorry. So then you've crossed over. Now, if you cross over again, so you're on one plane of existence at the moment. We're on a plane of existence right now, where we are. Then you cross over, when you died, the spirit crosses over to the first, ethereal, shall we say, a plane. So we can still talk to them through clairvoyance and mediums and things like that, and you can ask them to turn the lights on and off and blah blah blah. But at some point they then cross over to, you've probably heard the expression, go to the light. So eventually that spirit will move on to the next plane, which has probably been there before. So it crosses over, then then your loved ones can't contact you. So if you go to a clairvoyant and say, can I contact Joe Bloggs, they might get a message from another spirit saying that Joe Bloggs has crossed over. So, you cross over, or the spirit crosses over. So once you get to the point of the second crossover, then that's it. I've not heard of anyone, any spirit coming back as that person from when they was. So that then spirit or entity then goes back in front of another council, or in front of the council of aliens again. Well, I call them aliens because they're not human. And says, right, we've got another body for you. This time your soul group, and there's a soul group with that. If you want to know what soul groups are, just ask, because otherwise I'll just keep waffling on and I can see people's got questions. So your soul group kind of very briefly joins with you, as it doesn't have to be your loved one. It could be, a neighbour. It could be someone that you pass through. It could be your mother, father, sister, whatever. And so the council then says, right, okay, we've got another thing for you. This time, you're going to be murdered at 13. Yeah, great. The spirit then joins in with that thing, and it's all about learning. So the spirit could be a murderer, or go in with a murderer. It could be, it's all about learning. So yeah, so after that, you then, that's where you get your past life regressions, because obviously that spirit's got you now in there in the back, been pushed back. But if you regress with hypnotism, you can bring you back to be able to talk to. So I hope that sort of clears that off. Thank you for the rose from Massive. I remember coming here, and I remember my past life, and I know why I'm here. This is from the one iron. Wow, brilliant. I mean, not many people, normally kids can remember their past lives, but as we get older, we seem to forget them. But if you can remember what you was in your past life, and that means that's fantastic. Hopefully you're here for a good reason, to stop people like Bill Gates from doing things that they shouldn't be doing to the rest of the population. Okay, moving on. What's your take on the Gulf Breeze sightings? I used to love the book as a kid, but it was a hoax. The problem with sight, especially nowadays with technology, computer technology, and the fact that people want high views on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, faking's, obviously a prominent thing. So, back in the day, if there was more than one source saying that they saw something, then I would tend to believe that it's probably credible. And obviously nowadays with drones as well, it's really hard to know. But I mean, there are sightings all the time, or there was sightings all the time. There was, a spate in Florida, and there's been spates in Brazil. There's been spates in the UK. That for whatever reason, there's been, prolonged monthly, long visitations from whatever race it is. So I don't know enough. I've not spoken to any of the eyewitnesses or anything like that, but I do know, like the Brazil one where they were actually being zapped. People were actually being zapped with the light, and it was burning the skin and stuff like that, and they had to go to and got radiation treatment and all. So that we know, and then the military ended up going in there into a certain part of Brazil that was under constant, I guess, attack, really. For want of a better word. So it's not inconceivable that there is spacecraft flying around. Coronas wrote, have you ever seen something that convinces you with a photograph or a video? Okay, that's a good question. Linda Moulton Howe's got some fantastic photographs. She got one from, I think I mentioned this on the last chat, she got one from a person that was in the States, and they just bought this house, and they went up in the loft, and there was old crap in there, and there was photographs, and it looked like there was a military person from before that lived there, and two of these pictures, I think it was two, were of, other than military, two of these were from, looked like two little greys. They are very convincing. I think she's put them on the internet somewhere. You might have to pay to go on her site, earthfiles.com, I think her site is. They're very realistic, and the story is very believable behind that. The Ray Santilli footage, which is the alien autopsy, totally believe his story. Very credible, and obviously the effects, if it is fake, the video that he says he's now fake, and you have to remember that sometimes people are got to, your best will in the world. If someone comes up to you, two men in black, and says, you'll be fine, but your mother and your brother and your sister and your kids and everything won't be, tell everyone it's fake, then he's going to go back and tell everyone it's fake. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying it's real or fake, but the story goes that he the footage did disintegrate. Now I actually know about film footage because in a previous life, not really, but a long time ago, I worked with 8mm, 16mm, 35mm, and sometimes 70mm film stock. So I know, you have to. If you open the can, it can disintegrate after a certain amount of time, and so that's supposedly what happened with this footage. So anything that I did see, I mentioned this before. I did see a video online, a couple of videos online, but of a guy that was filming from the back of his boat at night, and he zoomed right in on an alien ship and everything. It looked really realistic, and you could actually see inside little greys moving around. That was quite compelling. But other than that, go to people like, if you want to know the best footage to look at, not the ones where they're security cameras and you suddenly see an alien's head pop up and there's nothing else in the background, because that's fake. Because if it's a security camera, the whole point is filming someone's garden or filming someone's property, and if it's all black in the background, then it's you'd have night vision. And obviously the footage was in black and white, which means it was night vision, so they're just filming a black area so they could use the fake alien face. So I know kind of a lot of stuff to do with films and special effects as well, so I can sort of tell where I believe someone's faking it. Neo's wrote, I was probed last night. I hope he enjoyed it. Have you tried remote viewing? Good question. No. Have you? This is from Cena. I know, there's courses out there from, the people that actually started remote viewing, such as Major Ed Dames. So if you're interested in anyone in learning remote viewing, you can actually then literally see anywhere, anytime. But I've not tried it. I don't know if I've got enough concentration to do that. I don't know. I'm kind of frightened, because you kind of also need two people to do it. One as a control person that will take your answers. That's the way that it's described, how you need to do remote viewing. You can't just do it on your own, apparently. John Tittle, what do you think? Says just another. Um, I don't know who John Tittle is. Sorry. Sorry. Uh, Fearless has wrote like King Gilgamesh. I'm behind now on what I was talking about, so I'm sorry. I don't know where that fits into what I was saying. Sorry. Uh, I'm just scrolling down now. I'm just trying to. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Do you think aliens? Bubbly's wrote. Do you think aliens could be disguised as humans? For example, an alien could be your neighbor. Um, I think there's hybrids. There's a whole alien hybrid program from the Little Greys, not the Zetas, the Orions, which is run really by the Tall Whites, and sometimes alien. In fact, humans have been seen with them. Now, whether that's the Nordics, we don't know. But so I think there's a possibility that well, I've heard stories that they've dropped in these hybrids. I'm running out of not time, but I'm running lots of messages. But there's hybrids that could quite easily be, and supposedly is on Earth now. And as for disguising, there's two types of men in black, from what I understand. There's the alien type, and then you've got the military, the secret military that turn up. They learnt to do the Men in Black routine, copying the aliens that are now. Whether or not those that look like humans are shapeshifting, or whether they've got some disguise on, I don't know. Supposedly they don't really have eyebrows or eyelashes, so is it a metamorphosis thing? Or is it, just a mask that somehow they've put over their face? And they talk in a monosyllabic tone to the people that they're questioning about what they saw. So I won't go into the Men in Black unless someone asks, because I'll be here all day otherwise. Cena's wrote, I used to have reoccurring nightmares about aliens as a young kid until I was about 14. What kind of aliens? Was it sort of stereotypical greys, or was it a different? I'd be really interested to know, because you're not, if it was the greys, you're not the only kid that has reoccurring nightmares. Sometimes the nightmares also project, like for example, an owl. They implant false memories into you, or into the abductees that they take, and sometimes that people see an owl. Sorry, it's just scrolling on. Rob has wrote, we're an alien science project put on the shelf and forgotten about. Trust me, we're not forgotten about. There's a whole war going on to try and get to Earth for whatever reasons that they want. So there's not, I could go into detail, but I'll try and only answer the questions. Otherwise, I'll be here all night. Do you have any knowledge about the highly melanated extraterrestrials? I'm not sure what that's referring to. Do you mean sort of a colour blue, or if you let me know? I'm sorry. Sometimes, there's people asking the same question. I will try and answer every single question, but sometimes I get carried away and try and explain as much as I possibly can. Just trying to read sort of questions, because people sometimes chat between themselves. Justin's wrote, the Bible is an enslavement tool created by the Draco, PayPal families, and Council of Five. I don't think that, but okay, that's an interesting thought though. Bubbly's wrote, I think the Bible is just to keep society stable. Without it, there would be a lot of anarchy. So I think the intention of the Bible was right, because if you go back to the book of Enoch, Enoch being the scribe, writes that the gods have said, which was the Anunnaki, has said, do not change what I wrote. And then, if you actually read it, it says, but man will. In other words, we know what men are like and humans are like, shall we say. So I think the intention of the Bible was fairly honourable. You know, it was done for a reason, but man has changed it to exactly what you say, to fit their agendas over and over. Each version that comes out is a different version that they've taken bits off to make them. Mona has wrote the Romans burnt and threw out the original Bibles and changed it. Absolutely, they did. Yeah. I mean, you can just see, go back to the first. You know, I think it's the Old Testament says that, you know, God created them, meaning us, in their image, and then later on in Genesis, or I think it is, it's changed to God created man in His image. So straight away there's a discrepancy, and even the word Enoch was in the original Bible a lot more. In fact, the Ethiopian Bible is the Book of Enoch. So if you you know, they're the only ones that's kept it, really. So that was, so like I say, that was a fairly honourable thing that they was doing. They was basically cataloguing their life, the Anunnakis, in stone, because that made sense. The one Iron has wrote, yeah, I believe in hollow Earth. Okay, interesting. Do you believe it's hollow as in absolute hollow in the center, or do you believe like I believe, which is there's huge chasms, and some of them can, you know, travel on for miles and miles and miles? Just scrolling down. Sorry, just trying to 182. So that's how far I am. I'm guessing that's Blink 182. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I've not listened to his music or anything. Do you think S4547? Hi there. Do you think NASA is lying about the roundness of Earth, aliens, and landing on the moon? Okay. Now I know people say that there's videos out there that of NASA saying it's a flat Earth. Now you got to wonder. You know, NASA is the never straight answer. That's what NASA means. So if they're saying something, then you've got to wonder, are they doing it for a reason? Now, if the Earth is round and they're saying it's flat, are they doing it to, you know, distract us, or another reason? Or if it is flat, why are they telling us flat when we're supposed to be a round globe and they're showing pictures of round globe? So there's a discrepancy there between the two. They shouldn't be saying it's flat. They're not that thick to suddenly blurt out it's a flat Earth. Now interestingly, the story of how Earth became, which could explain if it was flat, is, I should have bought a drink, shouldn't I? Sorry. Is Tiamat, which was another planet in our solar system, you know, billions of years ago, got hit by Nibiru, which is actually, this is written in the Lost Book of Enki. Got hit by Nibiru, and there's a whole backstory to it. But anyway, basically, and Tiamat ended up being the asteroid belt, the top half of Tiamat, and the bottom half, which, when they say top half and bottom half, it was a water planet. And we ended up being the bottom half of Tiamat with the water and gold. And Tiamat did have gold, and in fact the Anunnaki tried to mine the gold off of the asteroid belt, and they sent 2 ships there, and they never came back. Obviously, they got whacked trying to mine it. So that would, you know, that calendar would explain reminder. That would explain why, if the Earth is flat, that would explain why. Because obviously, if a planet smashes into another planet, you're not going to get a perfect sphere. So you've got to ask yourself, how come we're a perfect sphere if we're half of a planet and the other half is now the asteroid belt? You know, why didn't we become the asteroid belt? So there's a lot to think on that. Going back to the question about is NASA hiding aliens? Absolutely, absolutely. And the landing on the moon, to me, I don't think the first moon mission was real. I just can't see that from all the things that you guys have seen as well. Down the line, I think they probably did land on there. and I think they did it for a reason, which I've mentioned once before, that supposedly there's a craft on the moon, and it looks like a rock. Basically, if you remember that Uma spaceship, and I say spaceship because it was a spaceship, even NASA kind of can't argue that it's not some sort of spaceship. So supposedly there's a an Umuma on the moon, and supposedly a secret person went up on one of the Apollo missions, specifically to go to that craft and get inside, and they did, and that's when they got those pictures of an alien that looks like a Polynesian person, which, if you haven't seen them, just go watch all my videos. So yes, I think they faked some of the landings at least. Just scrolling down. Hi to everyone that's saying hi and all the little hearts, which is lovely. The one iron. Look, I don't know if you lot are spiritual, but it's true. I'm a dreamer. Dream work. I've seen it. I've seen it all in army coming, sky on fire. I'm probably guessing you're referring to what's going to be happening in the next year or two. Oh no, you're referring to the aliens. Sorry, fire in the. I thought he was referring to what's going to happen with our sad planet at the moment. Bill Gates. Fire in the. Just carrying on what he said. Fire in the sky, lights, sky. I've seen it all. Triangle crafts. I've had one before inside a military base. Yeah, I mean the triangle ones we all kind of know. The TR3B at least. There was actually a version before the TR3B, if anyone's interested. But the triangle ship that you just type in Google TR3B, that's the military one. In fact, not Roswell, X-Files actually, in the last season, I think it's season 11, showed the TR3B, and I was like, my God, they're actually really like, wow, really going out there for it. Mona's wrote, there are more oceans inside the Earth than outside. Why don't we study them? Okay, so if you've watched my videos, I actually say I think the center of the Earth is water, and if you watch some more of my videos, you'll see that recently the University of Hawaii has actually agreed that the core is, and they didn't use the word molten. Some other places has, but the actual university that actually studied it has said it's a fluid substance as opposed to, liquid molten core. So yes, I think the logic. There's people out there that's done far more research than me on the Earth being the center of Earth being water, because that's what drew me to their conclusions, is the fact that apparently our planet was had a bigger mass and all this kind of stuff, but over the years, obviously, the water's raised up, come through. So if you're interested in that, look it up. They might have called it the ice core, but obviously over time it's melted. And just scrolling down, what's Danny's wrote? What's the main objective then for the blue beam? To get us into camps and never let us go. So Mr. Gates and his father, who was actually, I don't know if you guys know this, was the head of the population department in America. So you can imagine what their dinner table conversations were like. There's too many bloody people. Oh, don't worry, Dad, I'll sort it out. If I throw enough money at the media, yes, someone pays the media, that donates money to them. You can guess who that is, a billionaire. So let's be honest, there's a depopulation program going on. I mean, he's even mentioned it. So, I'm not talking out of term here. And there's ways that they can do it. One way, which we all know is happening right now, forcibly. But for those that don't, they need a way of getting people into these particular places. And Project Bluebeam, I'd heard about it in the late 80s, I think it was, or early 80s. And they had the technology back then to create a holographic thing, whatever they wanted to do, and with whistleblowers had said that it was. Sometimes they supposedly had used it over places like Brazil to give an impression of like Jesus or an angel and things like that, just to test it. Of course, the people in third world countries were like, "Oh my God, Jesus is coming back" and stuff like that. So they needed to test it. But anyway, so yes, yeah, it was basically a depopulation program. I'm not talking out of term. Just research yourself, and it's unfortunately, even from my own research, as I said from the beginning, the when I came on here, the people that I've listened to, back in the 80s, remote viewers and so on, were talking about concentration camps as the future for people, and I thought they were wrong back then, but now obviously anyway. Right, Paul's wrote, do you think we'll ever get disclosure after the depopulation? Yeah, I don't think it's not going to happen while we're still here. Sorry, as much as I'd love it to, they're not going to. But once they've got the amount of people, Georgia Guidestones, that they want left, yeah. Mona's wrote, my blood type is O+. The one Irons wrote, hate me if you want, but Mary was just IVF. She was inseminated with Jesus. I agree. No, I agree. Absolutely. God is source energy, not a person. And that's from Danny. So, the texts that we've got, that we call them gods because their race name is Elohim, the Anunnaki. So that's one god, and we can't deny that that's there. It's written in stone. There's carvings of them. There's, there's even the elongated skulls that we found. So the Anunnaki were real, and we called them God, and that's where the Bible copies it from. So that's that side. A second side is, as I've mentioned many times before, the aliens. When people say, "Is there a God?" They refer to a source or a creation. That's the two words that comes out. Even people, spiritualists, have asked deceased people, "Is there a God?" And what comes back is pretty much there's a source or a creation. So what that is, I don't know. That could be, a person, or it could be an alien. It could be just an accident. I don't know. But as regards the Bible God, it certainly is the Anunnaki. I mean, it's just go back to the original source, and it spills it all out. I mean, just watch my videos if you're unsure. But because I even in the last couple, I put up a clip of an audio book of the Lost Book of Enki, and it literally, it could be Lord of the Rings. I know it sounds far fetched, but they write everything down. There's no point in doing it half-heartedly, I guess. Mr. Inappropriate, good to see you at the weekend. Yes, a couple of people had asked. I should have bought a drink over. Paul, I've always told my kids Stonehenge was a UFO landing pad. Yeah, I thought that years ago. Absolutely, honestly, I did. As a kid growing up, but when you if you watch my videos, you'll see that I've allocated a part of the Book of Enoch where they're talking about the calendar, and they call them gates, and they basically constructed these gates. Now, obviously, Stonehenge isn't the only one in the world. There's loads of henges which are exactly the same. Some are smaller. Well, most of them are smaller. Some are destroyed now, but there was more of these Stonehenges around the world. And I worked out that the Book of Enoch is actually talking about the gates, the amount of gates and everything that is on Stonehenge. So I'd like to think I'm probably the only person that has thought of that. And move over Professor Brian Cox. But yeah, I mean, you can look it up yourself. Ancient texts, Stonehenge, count the things, and it talks about the equinox, and it talks about solstice and everything else, and it all matches the Stonehenge. So I don't think it's a landing pad, but although I thought it was, my original thoughts was it was, this is how I thought it was years ago. This is me not knowing anything. I thought a UFO had landed there, and the local people saw that and then constructed this monument as a worship thing. Yeah, that's how bad I knew nothing back then. Candice wrote, I don't think Noah put real animals in the ark. He used test tubes. Well, actually, if you look at the Lost Book of Enki, for example, it says that he was told to put animals on domesticated animals on the ark, which makes sense because you don't want wild animals on this ship boat. So that makes sense. And he was also asked to look after the DNA. So Enki, who and Ninshurag, which is his sister, the medical person, had collected DNA of many types of animals on the planet. So he was asked to look after the DNA of these. So maybe that's the 2x2. So that's what it says, and it makes sense. Scrolling on. Hi from Canada, Lothor. Hi there. Just gone down. Paul's wrote, my near-death experience, I was split into millions and all functioning. Wow. Still get freaked out about it, like being put through a sieve. Okay, that's interesting. Not heard that description of it, but I don't, unless you've got sort of very good recall of it, because I guess most people are probably freaked out of what happens after that part. Scrolling on, how is the entity that the Anunnaki referred to? How is the entity that the Anunnaki referred to the creator of all? So there's a passage in the Book of Enoch. I think it is, or I can't remember which one. Sorry, but obviously there's loads of tablets out there. But that they were talking about creating man in their image, and King Anu says no. I think it was Enki says yes, and Enlil said no, but Ninshurag said yes. So there was a discussion going on, and Enlil said no, we don't want them in our image. And then he mentioned something about a higher being. I can't remember the words to it. Go and have a look. But again, you've got to remember that it's whoever's translated that text may not even have it correctly themselves. So whatever the word is, don't take as gospel, because it's a translation of a language that's an alien language. Because let's be honest, it is an alien language, because it's the first language on the planet, and it was a fully formed language prior to humans being here. So, the Sumerian, which really is the Anunnaki's language, the Sumerian language is an alien language. So, if that says that that there was some other thing that's above the Anunnaki, then again, don't take what the translation is literally, because there's probably no such word for it in Earth, in our language. But okay, I'm just scrolling down. Do you think the Bob Lazar story is absolutely... Yes, I do. Bob Lazar, I think, is 100% real. He went through the ringer back in the 80s, obviously, because he came out with these things. But Element 115 has now been created, although synthetically by Russians. It's still been created. So he's been vindicated on that. NASA, the military came out and admitted there is an Area 51. I know he worked at S4 Groom Lake, but, they now come out, and even though it was the worst kept secret, everyone knew about Area 51. But the point is, they come out now. So I think he is definitely telling the truth. I mean, he was a very smart person, and he didn't need to go through what he went through. And he also, if you follow his story, he also took out John Lear. I don't know if you guys know that, or who John Lear is, but anyway, John Lear is the one that created the Learjet, from what I understand. Anyway, he took him out on several nights, knowing when that they was going to be doing these tests on these UFOs, and actually filmed them flying around. Obviously, he was outside the perimeter, but he could see them and was filming them, and they had sort of a nice evening a couple of times when they went out, knowing it was on a Thursday or a Wednesday type thing in the evening. So, and he had the footage. So, I've seen the footage, and so that makes me think, he was there with John Lear. So, either they're all really good at CGI back in the 80s, or it's real. So I think it's real. Hello, Billy, Bili, I think it is. Hello. Just scrolling on. People are following the host, which is nice. Brilliant contact, user 07. Brilliant contact, keep it going. Thank you very much. I should have had a drink, otherwise I'll end up stopping. What do you know about demons and angels? Okay, so to me, there's no such thing as a demon. A demon is an expression of something evil. Bill Gates. Excuse me, clearing my throat there. Because if I said to you, what's a demon, you'll say it's, got a towel, it's this, it's whatever. And it's the same as a monster. If I said to you, what's a monster, you'll describe a monster, but it won't be the same as my monster. So demons to me is just something that's an evil entity, whether it's a human, whether it's an Anunnaki, whether it's an alien, whatever it is. I think the word demon is obviously been misrepresented. And the angels, if you read the Book of Enoch, angels are real, living, not with wings. They are real characters which were Anunnaki, and if you actually work it out, the word angel really meant, which I mean, it's been translated into messenger, but I think it was a military type person, because when Enoch's being shown around, he's being shown around by an angel, and they're chatting. There's loads. Just read the Book of Enoch, you'll see they chat a lot. And when he was taken up to one of the craft, he was taken up by an archangel, so a higher commander, someone, maybe a pilot, something like that. Same goes for Holy Angel. He was taken somewhere with a Holy Angel. So we've unfortunately attributed this angel thing, but my proof, and I think again I'm probably the only one that pointed this thing out, but in the Book of Enoch, it talks about Enoch standing next to an angel as he's chatting to him, and then they're looking at this dead body, and a spirit comes out of this dead body. So we know an angel isn't a spirit, because he would have said that an angel came out of the dead body instead of a spirit coming out of the dead body, and he's chatting to an angel. So, I know I'm, probably the only person that's saying all this, but it's just pure logic. When if you put enough hours in, you can connect the dots like I think I have. Just scrolling down. Good evening to DJ Lady. Oh, hi there. Thank you for joining. They removed the last part of the Bible, DJ Lady has said. I've lost track of what they've done with the Bible. It's like Control, Alt and Delete. There's small pyramids on the moon that drag you inside to recycle you, says Rabbit Hole. Not sure on that, but I think Rabbit Hole also said something else earlier on about mushrooms and being abducted by reptilians, so I don't think Rabbit Hole's on the same page as us. Hello from Illinois. Yes, I can manage to read that. I'm terrible at pronunciations. Danny's wrote, Earth is a sphere. Anyone who thinks it's flat needs a head examining. Yes, I was being polite earlier when I was saying about it could be flat because of the reasons that I was saying that it was smashed into. But yeah, I was just trying to be polite to those that think that it's flat. I believe they should tell the truth. We are ready. That's Gina. They're not gonna because that means they have to admit then that aliens have been abducting humans. Then this is the biggest crux: is let's just say they've told us that we can. There's aliens out there, and they're far more advanced than us, millions of years more advanced than us. They can go through dimensions. They can fly through the sun. Apparently, they can fly through Earth, literally through Earth, through the center of it. If they can do all of that, and they can, in one contactee, because he originally was a abductee, his story says that because they were helping him, or he was helping them do stuff, long story, but they removed all his tar from his lungs from where he smoked. So if you found out these aliens can do these miracles, you would be bugging the hell out of your government to say, look, my son needs this, or my daughter, or someone needs a new kidney, and this person's going to die because of cancer. Please, for the love of God, get these aliens to help my child. You would. you know, if you thought there was a cure, you would. And you know, it's not going to happen. They're not going to allow that information out there. Not to us while we're here, anyway. We watch, Tillers wrote, we watch the sky every night. If only people would look up. Yeah, it's a good thing. Unfortunately, I'm in the UK, so all I see is dark grey clouds. But yeah, just scrolling down. Francisco's wrote, "I'm an alien. Technically, we all are, or part alien." Francisco's wrote, "There's an underground base where I can travel." I'm not sure what that's referring near Nevada. Oh, sorry, carrying on. There was a couple of people messages in between. Near Nevada, or Nevado, you're going to start making me try and pronounce these words. It's somewhere in Mexico, basically. Gina's wrote, "Why not the present time going on with them instead of the 50s stuff? Why not the present time going on with them instead of the 50s stuff?" Not sure what that's referring to. You mean if I'm talking about it, I can talk about modern stuff, absolutely, if that's what you're referring to. But there were some good cases back in the 50s. The reason why I like the 40s and 50s and 60s is because CGI wasn't around. People's livelihoods were at stake. You know, there's Remy Lemores, I think his name was, the police officer that literally said he saw an egg-shaped craft land and these little beings get out. You know, people had their jobs on the line if they come out with, you know, crazy stories. Now, you know, it doesn't make too much difference, but back then, you know, it was a different life back then. Just scrolling down. Danny's wrote, "You shouldn't give unwell people a voice on here." Yeah, I am a bit too nice, aren't I try and read out everyone's comments. Sometimes I do skip ones that that are people that are unwell. That Christ is real. That's from Francisco, who's probably unwell according to Danny. We're prisoners here, Rabbit Hole said. Gina said true to something that I probably can't remember what I was talking about now. We're controlled by Saturn, Rabbit Hole says. I'm probably going to have to stop reading your stuff now, Rabbit Hole, because I'll get told off by Danny for saying you're unwell. Underground base is it's a shame because you might have some good stuff to say. Although Rabbit Hole's actually just said there was a war on Mars, nuclear, that caused the planet to die. Spot on, yes. Now, I haven't released it yet, but did you know, you probably don't, there's not many people do, well, first of all, there was a nuclear explosion here on Earth, and using those weapons that I mentioned, there's a video I've just literally released just before I came on live. If you haven't seen that, watch that. But there was also proof that there was a nuclear explosion in India. There's a video coming out that I've done, so interesting stuff. Yes, so that's exactly, I do believe that Mars did die. Now, interestingly, which if you don't know anything about the Anunnaki or anything, they set up an away station. Now, in the Lost Book of Enki, they actually talk about the, I think they called it Lumhumla or something. Terrible names. But anyway, Mars basically that had an atmosphere. It was not a great atmosphere, but it had water there as well. Which, if it's got water, it probably had some sort of plants. Now, it wasn't. It was still barren. So, to me, and that was the first time they'd ever been there, and that's what they described first time, because the first time they'd ever passed the asteroid belt was when Alalula came to Earth. So we know that it wasn't them that destroyed Mars. It would have been another race. Now, it could have been there's a few stories of who it could have been, but basically we can rule out the Anunnaki categorically destroying Mars with nuclear weapons. However, they did use them on Earth, which I will go into if anyone wants me to waffle on. Okay, so just scrolling down. Sorry, just Danny's wrote, sorry, but I don't think they'll ever get the population down to 500 million. That's the amount that says on the Georgia Guidestones, and that's also the amount that I heard an abductee say, or a couple of abductees say, that the little greys had said that our planet is overpopulated and should be 500 million. And this was before I even knew about Georgia Guidestones. So they'll do their damnedest if they can. I mean, they're working on it now. I mean, just look. I mean, just I don't even want to go into it, but be ready. Danny's right. Unless by mistake, like nuclear war. Well, nuclear weapons won't be allowed. They're not allowed, and I say not allowed because the Greys have stopped many nuclear weapons being tested, as well as even when they're not even being tested, they're in bunkers. So, I can waffle on about that, but that's so nuclear weapons ain't going to happen. Another type of weapon might, a mass destruction one. I can't rule it out, but nuclear, because it actually destroys souls apparently, as well as causing radiation on the planet, and they don't want that. So, Teddy's wrote, "Do you think they will win?" Going from the clairvoyance, the mediums, and the remote viewers, and all the people back in the 80s that had unfortunately all stuck in my head when they kept saying, there's going to be concentration camps, and they described, in detail about fires and all sorts of stuff around the planet. In other words, the people that weren't in concentration camps. If you go by that, then they win. It's plain and simple as that, really. I'm praying I'm wrong. Obviously, I don't want to be doomsayer and whatever, but I'm just going by what I heard. And unfortunately, the sheep out there are allowing this to happen, and the military are just, I'm just doing my job, and the police are just doing my job, and that's how it starts. And sorry. Scrolling on. Are they coming back? The Anunnaki, I'm guessing you're referring to. That's from Troll Slayer. No, the Anunnaki won't come back. Not in a way that we think they come back. They come back now. They do actually chat to, according to whistleblowers, they've seen them in military complexes, some of the Anunnaki. So, they've obviously got the technology to come here. So I think we're doing trades with them as we do with a lot of alien races, but they're not going to come back here as reported to take over because, they wouldn't have left in the first place if they wanted to do that. Unless they want to get rid of us. But again, there's the quarantine around Earth, which is why no one's directly attacked us. So, Pineals wrote, and that's an interesting name, the pineal gland. Pineals wrote, are all reptilians negative? I encounter them a lot. Supposedly, well, it depends. The Dracos are, supposedly. The other types, the ones that supposedly are in the inner earth are not. But they take people. So, I don't know. I mean, are humans all bad? There's different factions. So I wouldn't want to meet one of the reptilians anyway, just in case it's one of the bad ones. Can you talk more about the fire in the sky and what's going to happen in a year or two? That's from Carol. I'm guessing you're not referring to the film The Fire in the Sky with Travis Walton, because I could talk about that. So I'm not sure what that's referring to. I don't want to waffle on about the Travis Walton case if it's not that you're referring to. What's going to happen in a year or two? Well, if you've not heard about Austria already, that's going to happen all over the planet. And the stupid military and the stupid police will allow that, and I'm getting a paycheck. Doesn't matter. I'll do what I'm told, even though at the end of it they're not going to be here either. Crazy. So yeah, the way I see it is, at some point or other there'll be a switch on. Now we've all seen the leaders of the world getting their injections, and we've seen the caps on them, and no one's squirting it in, so we know that they've not been injected. So it doesn't take an Einstein to work out that when something happens, they're going to be fine. So basically, something will happen, and I have a feeling it's to do with the 5G that got put up while Hawaii wanted it, but they didn't want Hawaii to deal with it, and you kind of know why they didn't want Hawaii to deal with it, because Hawaii would have probably turned around and said, "What the frickin' hell are you doing?" So these towers, I think, may cause a problem within the next year or so, when they've done enough people and kids and babies, and I don't even know if you know, they're actually doing zoo animals. So I mean, that's humane, because there's nothing worse than leaving those poor things to starve to death when the keepers are not around. But yeah, it's all down to the military, and they're just getting a pay packet, and they think they're stupid. So sorry, I'll waffle on. Okay, just scrolling on. Gina's wrote, "I was a vessel to carry a baby." I'm guessing you was abducted. I might have not read that if you did say that. That happens, yeah. Sadly, people are abducted, and then I think it's I'm not sure which trimester it is, but a certain trimester they have to take the baby out. The aliens have to take the baby out when you're impregnated by them, because from what I understand, it can't go any longer without dying, so they have to take it out a certain trimester. Teddy's wrote, "So much evil in the world. I believe we are on Satan's planet. Surely there's a better place world." The sad thing is, the planet's lovely. You know, I sometimes say to myself, "Oh, I hate this freaking world," but it's not. It's the people. Let's be honest. It's the people. The planet is a lovely planet. Donna's wrote, "Stargate, I'm the sun." Not sure what "I'm the sun" part is, but Stargate to you. So there's two types of Stargates. There's a Stargate, the TV series, that teleports you to another place, and then there's the Stargate that the military have that's called Stargate, but it doesn't take you to another place. So I'm not sure which. I don't want, only because there's 50 and my throat's killing me now, and so unless I've got a specific thing, because I will waffle on, as you all know, and probably hate me for it. I'm just scrolling down. Is the sun conscious? Kilotrons wrote, "I wouldn't have said so. No, I wouldn't have said so. Same as a fire. I mean, technically, believe it or not, a fire is classed as alive. It meets the criteria for something to be alive. It can combust, it can consume, it can, not breed, but it can reproduce, and it can die. So a fire is technically alive in our terms, but I wouldn't say it's got consciousness. Same as the sun. TZZ has wrote, "Awesome." I'm not sure what it's referring to, but hopefully it's to do with me saying something clever. Phillies has wrote, "Med beds are coming us." I've been always thinking about Anu. Kia Love wrote, "Anu is in the King Anu." I just did a video on, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Literally, I put it up just before I come on Enlil. Oh, he's disgusting little. Oh, well, I can't say little. Disgusting. Yeah, and it worries me, because he's a god, and he's done this to a child. This is Enlil. He's a god, and you got to think, okay, if he does it, obviously he was banished, and the other Anunnakis found out, and it was, he was banished. But if he does it, then you got our world leaders that are following. Are they being run by Anunnaki? Who knows, or reptilians? But you got let's be honest, our leaders are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Just look at Biden and the videos of him doing. I wouldn't kiss a freaking kid, someone else's kid. I just, on the forehead like he does. I just, it's something not right with him. Do Anunnakis have souls? Is Satan Horus? Some good questions there. I think they do, because when Enoch was talking about seeing a spirit from a dead person, first of all, that means they're aware of spirits. Second of all, the person was an Anunnaki. So that answers that question, I guess. Is Satan Horus? Depends on what you call Satan. See, to me, Satan, again, a bit like demon, is someone evil, and people could call Enlil evil for some of the things he done, and he was a god. So, I mean, Horus. Being brief, because there's 60 messages, I don't think they're one of the same, but like I say, people call anyone Satan, Bill Gates. So I don't know. Source of the wing makers. My brain's gone. Wind takers, do you mean? I'm not sure what wing makers is. Sorry. Galactic Federation remove negative aliens, Phillies wrote. I hope that's true. My wife is RH negative, from Paulie. I believe her consciousness is much different. Well, yeah, I mean, if you watched my live chat on YouTube, I did with a wonderful lady. If you haven't seen it, go on to it. Look for the one that says with special guests. She knows everything about RH negative. Far more than I do, and she was explaining certain traits and how the consciousness or the not spiritual awareness, something she said, makes them highly more susceptible to extrasensory perception. So do have a watch of that. Morgan's wrote Bob Lazar. I have covered him earlier in this 2-hour video that I now seem to be doing. Yes, totally believable, totally real. Everything that he said has come true. So, yeah, and he's a very smart guy, and to give up his career, I don't know if you know much about Bob, but he created his own rocket car, and not just sticking a rocket on, but it was his own design of some sort of rocket. Anyway, and that's why the secret military police wanted him, because he had propulsion skills that they might have needed, because they couldn't figure out something. Did Elohim Kilotron have? Did Elohim have a contact to mine for gold and leave Earth once done? No. They came here. If you read the book of A Lost Book of Enki, they came here. They were gods. They did what they wanted. They realised that their lifespan was shorter on Earth. Now, whether that's to do with the air, because apparently their air is different. The food's different from here; it tastes sweeter. The waters taste different. I'm just going by everything that was written in the text, and yes, they do talk about absolutely everything. Or it could have been the sun. They're working in South Africa, and the sun was killing them, because they're not used to it. And literally, if you haven't read the book of Enoch, Lost Book of Enki, it's fascinating, because literally Alalulu gets here off his craft, and before you know it, for him, it's bloody night time. He didn't know what was going on. He saw this moon up in the sky and everything else, and he didn't know where the sun had gone or whatever, because obviously they don't have that problem on Nibiru, which is further out at the moment. Or further out at that point. Anyway, the next morning he woke up, and it was like, what the hell just happened? So he starts doing things. Next thing you know, he bumps into a snake. Long story, but if you got to read the book or listen to an audio book of it, because he goes looking for water and stuff, and he comes across a snake which he'd never seen before. But what's interesting, it was funny, is it before you know it, it's night again, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?" Because it's literally, the night is, probably 1,500 years, depending which way their planet orbits, etc. Brian's wrote, "Tell me about the Arcturians." My brain's gone now. Have I not done a video on them already? If I have, it's not been released yet. So yeah, just keep watching my videos. If anyone's interested, they're on YouTube from video 1 to 50 in blocks. So instead of sitting there, flicking your thumb up every so often, you can watch them on YouTube, and subscribe, just in case I ever get taken off of here for saying things that the elite don't want me to say. Right, okay. What did Enlil do with the missiles on the remote island? So, yes, he did hide them. No, he didn't hide them. There was a commander that hid them when they first got to. There was 50 of them arrived on Earth after Alalula was already here, and one of them, I think the pilot, hid the. There was 6 missiles left because Alalulu actually used 2 to get through the asteroid belt. Um, so he this commander or pilot took these without anyone knowing to an island, and then when when Enlil got banished, the commander or pilot took him to that place. So he only him and his commander knew where they were. So the Anunnaki, when they realised that he now has power to blow up all the Anunnakis, they allowed him to be a god again, or king, or whatever you want to call it. But later on, they actually got used. Those weapons got used, and it was over a dispute between Ninurta, which was Enlil's son, and Murdoch, which was Enki's son. Now, there's a whole load of story in between that about inbreeding to try and have the first child, and that's why the fight happened. That's why the what they call the war. Was it called the War of Pyramids? I think it was called the War of Pyramids because of the sons. Who was rightfully heir. So there's a whole thing. They're so into keeping it in the family, so to speak, to have the legal son. Galactic Federation went dark. Donna wrote, where are you getting this information from? 30 years of sitting in doing this sort of stuff. I've been on radio shows, so the main ones, not Coast to Coast, no, but other ones, Fade to Black, conspiracy shows, all that kind of stuff. So they kind of wouldn't have me if I was talking a load of rubbish, I guess, because they have really good researchers on there. So, but yeah, 30 years. I mean, it's out there. You can just look. I think my skill is putting things together that other people may not have, such as the Book of Enoch and the Stonehenge, things like that. I think I'm good at. I may be totally wrong, and someone shoots me down, fine. But I I've got that sort of brain for putting logic together, as you guys are, I'm sure. So if you researched it all yourselves, you'll come up probably with the same conclusions as me. I'm just scrolling down now. If you guys want me to carry on, I'm just going to go and get a drink. If you just bear with me, everybody. If you all suddenly disappear, then I know I'll go and watch a movie. But if I'm literally just going to be 30 seconds, 20 seconds. Oh, thank you. You're still all here. Oh, wow. Okay, so where are we? So, yeah, my information, that's where I get it from. So, what happened to Project Aurora? Oh, God, there's so many project names. Which one's that? I can't remember which one that is. Sorry, forgive me. If you drop it down, just a brief thing, then I'll remember. But there's so many project names I've got in my head. Blue Beam Project, Blue Book Project, this project that. Is there a correlation between the Hindu texts and ancient alien history? Yes, there is. So, for example, the domes that are in ancient India, you'll see them. They're on the tops of tops of buildings, as well as just being on the ground. These domes are like a bell shape, shall we say. Now, they are actually representations of alien craft. So absolutely, India has had Anunnaki there. And it goes back to me just talking about the fact that there was a nuclear weapon set off in ancient India in the ancient past. And obviously we haven't got it, so someone else did it. So, yes, there is total connection between India and the Anunnaki. Kilotron's right, thank you. Hi, I'm from Santa Cruz, California. Hi there, and that's Prince666. Hi there. Who survives when they reach their goal? This is going back to our future. Who survives? Well, obviously, right. So there's the last count, there was 178, I think it was, bunkers. And when I say bunkers, these are city-sized underground bunkers. And, the buildings, you've got shops and everything. I know it sounds really crazy. And this is around the world. America's got the most of them. China's got them. UK's got them. And these are the places that the people that know what's going to happen, they will be in there. So when something happens, they're bugging out. All the leaders and everything are going to bug out, which is really stupid because the leaders, like Boris Johnson, do think once this is all blown over and there's only a handful of people, I use that, when the right amount of people are left, do you think they want a bumbling stupid idiot, or do you think they're going to wipe the stupid ones out? They're not going to keep someone like him. Biden will be got. They're not going to keep stupid people. If they can do that to the population, reduce it by that amount. The stupid leaders that are stupid, then they don't want that, because there's a thing called One World, New World Order, One World Government, and that's going to be. They're not going to want a British politician. They're not going to want a freaking Californian politician. They will have who they've already got as the leader, and that's it. So the stupid leaders that think they're going to be safe are not going to be safe. They're just, if they can get rid of this amount of people, they're going to get rid of the stupid ones as well. But unfortunately, either they've been warned that if they don't toe the line, something's going to happen to them now, which I would go along with, because that's the way the military work, and that's probably why they're towing the line now. They may not want to, but they, listen, you'll be all right. We'll look after you when all this happens, but if you don't do what we're telling you now, that's it, you and your family, blah blah blah. So they're probably all of the look what happened in Africa. There was two presidents of two different two different states, whatever it is, in Africa, that both opposed it, and then a month later both of them mysteriously died. So so you can guess what's going to happen. So when the goal's reached, out comes the New World Order, and they crack on with their AI future, which is what I've heard that's going to happen. So and the rest of us will be the ones that don't, the ones that run, hide, whatever, will end up eking out an existence until either the military, sadly, the thick military, because then they don't want all of them either, because if the military turn on them, but people are thick. You got, sorry. Enlil, so Kia Lovers wrote, Enlil is Anu's son. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so Enlil and Enki and the Nerta, they're actually half brothers, believe it or not, but technically they are they're princes, which was Anu's sons, and the Nerta was not Nerta. Ninshurag was the daughter. Would you be sad if aliens just look like us? Well, we look like them, really. We look like the Anunnaki. Sorry, just drinking. Now, there was a study going back in mid-90s as to what, if anything, happened. What is the best form for a species to have? And it turned out it is 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 front-facing eyes. They did the whole thing, and that is the best form to have. So, that's a study by scientists. They wasn't trying to work out whether or not aliens existed. They was just seeing what is the absolutely peak of existence form that would be available, and 2 legs and 2 arms. So, when we hear of aliens having 2 legs, 2 arms, that is the pinnacle of supposedly of our scientists saying that that's what the best thing is, so that would make sense why we all, not all of us, but a lot of aliens out there that can travel amongst the stars are bipedal. Tillers wrote, some aliens do look like us. We would not be sad if it would be fact. Well, as I just mentioned, yeah. So, I mean, the ones that look like us, obviously, are the Anunnakis, the Nordics, the Palladians, just off the top of my head. Now, the Nordics were the Norse gods we know of, but they come way later after the Anunnaki. So, the Anunnaki, we're talking Anunnaki 400,000 years ago onwards towards now. So, Norse gods came way after that. Fabian's wrote, thank you. On the Anunnaki's names videos, there is an image. Where can I find it? On the Anunnaki names videos, there is an image. So you're referring to the bloodlines, I'm guessing. Just type in Anunnaki bloodlines, and people have gone through, the Book of Enoch and all the 12th Planet, all the books that various people, and it's not just Sitchin that translates it, and all the names are there. But be careful, because if you're researching this, they change their names a lot. So, for example, Enlil. And Enki, well, Enki wasn't Enki's first name, but Enki fancied this girl, and I can't remember her name. She was an Anunnaki, I can't remember her name. But Enlil, who was apparently dashing, stole that woman off of Enki, who was really upset because Enki obviously was over in South Africa, and this girl was in Mesopotamia, which is where Enlil was. Anyway, they had a kid, Enlil and this woman, and that obviously upset Enki, as it would. So that woman then had her name changed because she's now the mother of a prince. Do you see what I mean? So they change their names a lot. So when you look at the family tree, you might see the Anunnaki family bloodline sort of thing. You might see different names, and so it's not that someone's got it confused. They actually change the names of things. The same as the Anunnaki, they were called the Anunnaki. If you watch my videos, I explain why the Anunnaki were called the Anunnaki, and it all makes absolute sense. Because before I knew that, when I first heard the Anunnaki and I heard what the description was, those from heaven came to earth. Now there's different variations of it, but generally it's that sort of thing. I thought to myself, no way would our ancestors have gave them that name, because we don't even know what heaven was back then. You know what I mean? That's to write that in tablets. How would we have known heaven? We wouldn't have, because we was literally just created by the Anunnaki. So we wouldn't have called them that. We would have called them Elohim, which is what their race name was. But what it turns out is King Anu, while he was on Nibiru, broadcast to the people the Anunnaki on Mars and the people on Earth, and said, you guys are heroes, blah, blah, blah. We're going to call you all the Anunnaki. So, in other words, a collective group name. So when they're referring to someone, they'll say the Anunnakis, just like we call the Space Force or military, and so that's what they've done. Instead of saying, the people on, or the King Anu wouldn't say, those on Mars, even though it wasn't called Mars, we call it Mars, but those on Mars and those on Earth, he just collectively called them Anunnaki. So it makes so much sense when you actually look into it all. Okay, do you think good will be evil this time? No. There's too many sheep out there that's already done stupid things. I pray I'm wrong. I pray, absolutely pray. And in fact, I pray at night, believe it or not to a powerful God, as you know what I believe in, but I pray for the manifestation, or for spirit, because I do believe in spirits, to go and push someone, Mr. Gates, down the stairs. Because if spirits can, knock things off of walls and things like that, and if you go back to the poltergeists where they can physically pick people up and knock them and stuff, I pray every night that the people that are doing this end up, not here anymore. And if that's the case, if that happens, if that could happen, and the spirits all joined forces and freaking knocking down the stairs, then that would end some of their, if they can do it to all the stupid people that's doing this, not the Boris Johnsons because he's just a puppet, but the actual real people, the people that are in charge of the Economic Forum and all that lot. If those all disappeared, then their underlings, the people that's working for them, they're not gonna say, "Oh yeah, let's carry on this." They're gonna say, "Oh shit, fuck that, I'm not gonna do that," in case that happens to me. So yeah, I'm praying that good wins, but everything that I heard in the past that's now seems to be coming to the future, and it's not just me. I mean, if you look at Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory program, they said that 10 years ago they explained concentration camps. And now I'd heard about the concentration camps prior to that, but in the 80s. But the conspiracy show with Jesse Ventura, they cover that. They cover everything. They cover the injection. They cover everything. So if you haven't already seen that, try and find that. It's scary as hell. I remember watching it when it first came was aired. I used to watch the conspiracy show, and of course I remembered it, but I didn't think these things would happen in my lifetime. Same as I remembered the clairvoyance and the other people talking about concentration camps. I remembered it all, but I just never thought this would happen. RH negative descendants of the Anunnaki. Yes, I've covered that already, so this video will eventually go onto YouTube if it's not too long. I might have to split it into two parts. But yeah, I think they are. I think the RH negatives are the true offspring of the Anunnaki and the humans that they had already created. Do you know something about the Council of Five? So I think, as I mentioned before, there's a council of aliens which not dictate, wrong word, but which guide souls or spirits to their places. So I think that's what the council are. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong. Was Enoch an Anunnaki? No, Enoch was the son of Adam and Eve. Well, not son, but an offspring of Adam and Eve. Now, there's two Adam and Eves. There's one's 300,000 years ago in South Africa, which is fine. Mainstream agree with that. Then you've got the Adam and Eve that Enki had as sons from two different women, human women. Then Adam and Eve then had Cain, Abel, Seth, and then go down the list until you get to Enoch. There's a couple of, you'll see the names repeat themselves, but they're not the same person. They seem to use the same name. And then obviously it goes all the way down to Noah. So Enoch was a offspring of Adam and Eve, which was an offspring of Anunnaki and human people, which all makes absolute sense. When you start breaking it down, the logic there is sound compared to the Bible. Quinn's wrote, I see people's dark secrets, they weep out of their pores. I don't know whether that's a good superpower to have or a bad one. I wouldn't want to see their dark secrets, unless I was standing next to Mr. Gates. Where is the Ark of the Covenant now? So the Ark of the Covenant, I think, there was more than one. There was one in Egypt that was inside the Great Pyramid, that was inside the King's Chamber in the granite, what people think was a tomb, but it's not. It was never a tomb. That's why there was no lid. It's exactly the same cubit size, and it's a power generator. And that makes sense when you think that they carried this power generator around, and it was letting off it was letting off radiation. Because the priests that carried it, for example, around the walls of Jericho, they would die, and only certain people could actually carry the Ark of the Covenant. So I think there's different Arks of the Covenants out there. I think, I know the story goes that they put the tablets in there, the Ten Commandments, but if you look at the tablets of destiny, which was talked about by the Anunnaki, the tablets of destiny, when Alalula's grandson Anzu stole them. If you've watched my videos, you'll know what I'm on about. When he stole them, they were petrified. The Enki, Enlil, everyone was petrified because it had power, and it was the most power source on this planet. So in fact, when Ninurta went after him, Enki had to actually tell him how to defeat this power source, but he couldn't even tell him how to do that. He had to tell him to use the helicopter that they used, what they call windbirds, which was a helicopter thing, to uncover where it hid. Long story, but basically, the Ark of the Covenant is, I believe, where they kept the tablets of destiny, as well as the tablets that Moses got. So many different. I think there's a few different Ark of the Covenants. Supposedly, there's one now in a church, not buried, but deep in the church in Cambodia, or Ethiopia. And every now and then they have to replace the caretaker of the church because he lives there and won't let anyone in because his eyes go blind and basically gets radiation poisoning. So a lot of people believe that the actual Ark is in that church, or one of the Arks is definitely in that church, because there's poor people that have to look after it. After a few years, they die basically with radiation problems. So fascinating. Quinn's wrote, my name was Ansu. Yeah, that's an Anunnaki name if I remember correctly. Yeah, you're on. Lils wrote, hi there. Sorry, I'm so far behind on these messages. Quinn's wrote, I'm skint. I joined the club. Fabian's wrote, did Anunnaki use magic? And is magic real like Harry Potter? Well, very good question actually, because trying to remember who it is. I think it was Ninsharag set a curse on Alalula after he'd done the naughty thing with that young girl. And when he came back, after he said, I've got nuclear weapons, when he came back and they allowed him back, the tablets say that Ninsharag had to take the curse off of him. Now that's pretty powerful stuff, because he'd bugged out. How was it? I don't know. So yeah, I mean, to us it's magic. To them, it was not magic. Same as the face on Mars. Supposedly, it is in the tablets. And they use this. It explains they used sort of a ray gun from their ship to create this face on Mars, which was to honour Alalula, who was buried in there. So to us that's magic, but to them it's not. So yeah, they do have something that we can't do. It's the same as the elixir. It's some sort of drink type thing, and the Nerta brought some over from the planet, their planet, and was trying to brew it here, but there wasn't so much of it. So whatever that is the eternal life or long life. So is that magic? Is that spells? I don't know, but people could quite easily perceive it as spells, especially as they don't know. Will Anu and the rest of them come back to Earth to fight? No. I mean, they could wipe us. They could have wiped us out 50 years ago before we had, nukes and stuff. Anunnaki needed gold for what? So their planet has volcanoes, and the volcanoes were actually keeping the planet hot by blocking the atmosphere, keeping the heat in. And when the planet Nibiru come near the sun, it kept it cool. But some of the volcanoes started to not erupt anymore, and so it created this gap in their atmosphere. And they worked for a long time trying to work out what the best thing to do is. And they had two options: gold, or set missiles or rockets or whatever off in the volcano. And I'm cutting it really short, but bottom line is they tried the volcano missiles, didn't work. So then they had to go for gold. They didn't have gold on their planet, so they went to the asteroid belt where there was gold. Two of the ships got destroyed, so they thought, oh crap, we're buggered. Just at that moment, the Alalulu thing happened where he didn't actually get banished, but he bugged out and took one of their spaceships and left for Earth. And of course, the story goes that the furthest they'd ever gone was the asteroid belt, so he got all the way to Earth, scanned. Now they actually talk about scanning the ground for gold, and that's where he found gold near Mesopotamia, or Iraq, Iran, but it was in the waters. So he landed, and then after about a few days, he managed to dig out this gold, radioed back to Nibiru and said, I found gold, and they needed him to prove it. So the equipment on the ship, he had to do something with crystal. It says it all in the book. And he proved to them that it was actually real gold and he wasn't faking it, etc. So they wanted to powder gold to sprinkle in their atmosphere because apparently that would help heal it. And they did for the first... Now, their orbit round Earth is called a Shah. So instead of a year, they call it a Shah, which is 3,600 years. So for the first 3,600 years, when they first got some gold, it wasn't enough from Earth, and although it worked, it was started to dwindle, so they needed more, which is why they ended up staying here so long. We're talking, hundreds of thousands of years of our time, but to them it was a different amount of time. But yeah, so that's what they needed to go for. Magic like monks. Kilotrons wrote, magic like monks and prayer is real. I mean, the old saying is, isn't it? It's magic until you know how it's done. Hazy's wrote, is anything happening for good now? And I'm guessing you're referring back to what's going on in the world. There's some people that's not giving out the injections. That's a good thing. They're faking it, pretending to put it down. That's a good thing. I'm praying a lot of them do this, but it's still not going to end. The end result will still be the handful of leaders. I mean, these are just people. It's just like Boris telling the rest of England to do something, and instead of the military saying, "No, we're not doing it," police, "No, we're not doing it," shops, forget that. They're all doing it. They're complying, and so while people are complying, we've got very little hope. Sadly, creation, light, ship, source energy. Donna's wrote. Kilotrons wrote the same. Gold was for their atmosphere. Darkness is here. Come Sunday morning, I'm trying to lie in bed. My eyes all red from the wine in my head, wishing I was dead. That's a poem I remember from somewhere, I think. If not, it's very similar. Kilotron, do you the science behind gold particles floating in the air see mod? No, not really, because just look at chemtrails, and that's not even in the atmosphere. That's just up, in our sky, and they do that. So, but Bill Gates also wanted to create a shield to stop the sun burning through our ozone. So it's not so dissimilar. So no, I don't think it is too far-fetched. Hazy's wrote, will any of the normal day-to-day people survive this? Probably in the long term, no, because they're going to go with the solar power, a solar flare, cut out your electric when they need to, and then it will just be... Imagine the worst movie you can imagine, where people were fighting people for food. Yeah, I mean, this time last year I was talking on this TikTok talking about finding a location, and I've bought things. I've bought baseball bats already. Because I'm in the UK, I can't buy a firearm or anything. But I've bought battery operated things. I've bought extra food and whatnot. But when it comes to it, if a group of people with guns turn up at my door, I'm buggered. Whether it's military or a gang after the lights go down, and it's all to do with the sheep. Really, it is. There's no Boris can't magically make us do things, but it's the sheep that say, yeah, all right, we'll follow those orders. And until they wake up, and they're not waking up, or if they're awake. I mean, there was one person on my live the other day, or one of the videos was saying that her husband works for the 5G towers and absolutely knows what's going on. And then the amount of people that were saying, why the hell's your husband doing that? And she's going, well, I've got to feed my kids. So, when you've got that mentality, because if it's not him, someone else would have built it or installed it. So, and the same goes for the military. If one person gets sacked, some idiot out there will say, oh, I'll join the military to get a wage. Even though, at the end of it, none of us are going to be here. None of the people things that they don't want me to talk about. I think I don't know if you're still there, but my internet broke up. Probably because I'm talking about things they don't want me to talk about. So apologies for that. Okay, I'm going to have to sort of run through these questions now. Are you scared? Absolutely, of what's going to happen? Yes. Do we have Anunnaki DNA? Yes, we do. Would the RH negatives be spared if or when there is an alien invasion? There's not going to be an alien invasion. We're going to do it to ourselves. Thank you for Mr. Jimmy for sending whatever. Explain, what does melon have to do with being an alien? I'm guessing you're referring to colour. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. That's from Pimp My Pen. If you are referring to colour, so to me, this is the way I see it. Sorry, I'm just having a drink. The black population were here first. They were the ones that were created in South Africa. That actually matches up with mainstream science. The European, the whiter skins, come from the Anunnaki that I believe were pale skinned, because it says it in the text, with blue eyes. So I believe that when they had offspring from the, shall we say, black people that they had created from the Neanderthals and hominids, then we ended up with olive skin people. There's nothing to do with race. I'm not saying one way or another. So that's the way I see it. If someone can point me in a different direction, then I'm more than happy to look at that research. But that's my take on it. Are they coming back when they're not coming back? That's from Impatient. Donna, did Anunnaki influence the tech of the pharaohs? Absolutely. I'll be getting to those on videos soon. So just bear with that. And you'll have your answers on how they moved things. So, for example, like I said earlier, I don't know if you heard, but I was talking about the face on Mars, how they've done a laser beam from the thing, and they describe this. They're up in the air. They describe this. So, so we know they had the tech to do that. So, and the pharaohs are just kings. The pharaohs were an intermediate between the humans and the Anunnaki. That's what they actually allowed the pharaohs to be. So they're basic kings of the people, as opposed to Anunnaki kings or gods. What do you know about Zalmoxi? Never heard of it, sorry. Right, aren't there two types of Anunnaki? This is from Dixie. The Sumerian Enlil-Enki and the Draconian Anunnaki, the Reptilians. As far as I'm aware, there's only one type of Anunnaki, and that would be the ones that came here that King Anu called the Anunnaki. So if there was Draconians here, then I don't think they would have been classed as Anunnaki. They would have just been Reptilian or Draconian or Draco, as it's also known. Where are they now? I'm guessing you're referring to the Anunnaki. So they got the ones that were here for a long period. So, for example, they had the Aegi, which were younger Anunnaki up in space, taking stuff to the moon. To Mars as an away station. So the ones that actually were on Earth, such as Enlil, Enki, Ninshra, blah, 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 they all, from what I understand, died here. And thus the reason why we've got their elongated skulls here. Otherwise they would have, been buried on their home planet. And we know they would have wanted to bury them on their home planet, because when Alalula died on Mars, the writings say that they're upset that the first king, because he was a king at one point, of Nibiru was actually not buried on Nibiru, so they were upset. So yeah. Will they return eventually? Or are they still here? The ones that died, they meet up now with the military, but I think all the ones that were here, like the Enlils and that, I think they're all gone, because when you read some of the other different texts, you come across them talking about the gods of old, and that would have been Enlil, Enki, and things like that. So I think they passed. Can people build the Pyramid of Giza? Unreal's asked. They tried it in the 70s. China did. Some of the boats sank because they thought they would use the Nile. And they was only doing a 3/4 scale version. And I think they only got 3 levels higher. And then basically, they did, for publicity, they finished it off. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but they finished it off and said, this is only a tiny little freaking, I don't know, 20-foot high one, or 30-foot high pyramid, something like that. Really ridiculously small. You can see the videos of it. But basically, as they were going, they got stuck because they didn't, all the intricacies, because there's a lot of things that people probably don't know about the pyramids, like some of the blocks actually came down deliberately to block entrances once it was built. And they was having trouble, a hell of a lot of trouble. Some of the boats sank with the rocks, the stones they was putting on there. So, and they tried to do it in the old-fashioned way that it would have been done. That's why they use boats, barges type things. But so they struggled back then in the 70s. Yes, we've got cranes now that can do it and everything else, and we probably could do it now with a lot of effort. But just 30 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do it. Our biggest crane now can lift, I think, 100 tons. There's only one of them out there. I did some research on it. And there's stones there that's 100 tons in the Great Pyramid. So, we would struggle to this day to do it. Is there any correlation between with aliens and other religious books and teachings? Good question, Steph. Is there any other correlations between aliens and other religious books? Well, I mean, the Quran is taken a lot of. Yeah, basically there is. Yeah, Epic of Gilgamesh. Yeah, a lot. I mean, you could go on for hours going through them all, but yes, there is. Mary has wrote, I'm so happy I caught you live. Great content, thank you. Tell me what you know about Romania. Unreal's asked. Not a lot, to be honest. Nothing really about Romania. Sorry. Mary's asked, so Cain and Abel had the same dad. I thought the serpent made Cain. No. If you read the only text that I would say ever read, and that's the original text, not anything that's after it. So if you're reading anything that's after the original text, then it could be changed. But if you read the original texts, then Enki, not Enki, it was Enki. Enki had relationships with 2 Earth women. When I say Earth women, they're the ones that they created 300,000 years back. Obviously, they didn't live for 300,000 years. It was offspring of them, but they had. He had relationships with 2 of these women, and both of them gave birth, one to a boy, one to a girl. One was called Adipa, and the other one Lilith, or whatever it was, Adam and Eve, basically. So that's the second Adam and Eve. But the first Adam and Eve was what was in a test tube. Even though it was DNA using Ninshurag's womb to create the first humans, and then when they needed a woman, they took it from his rib, the first Adam's rib. So Adam and Eve is basically human. In Hebrew, Adam is human, so you can have as many Adam and Eves as you want, but I'm just the 2 so that we can differentiate between them. So then when Adam and Eve obviously had relationships with each other, then they had Cain, Abel, Seth, and that's all written in the original text. So whatever texts you read, I don't like to read ones after it, because obviously anyone can write anything. But if you go to the ones that was written in stone and it was the original writing, then it makes sense. Sorry, just having a drink. Could the Ark and the Mana Machine be the same? Yes, it could be. Yeah. Yeah, I'm rereading the book of Lost Book of Enki at the moment, and I'm guessing that they're using a mana type thing, and I was trying to formulate how that would work now, knowing all the stuff that I know, because when I last read it, it was probably 20 years ago. Were emerald tablets from Anu? Could have been. We know we know that when the 50 Anunnaki came here, when Alalula was here on his own, bless him. I do feel sorry for him because he got a bit of a bum deal. Because anyway, I kind of waffle on there. But yeah, they sent the tablets of destiny on that craft with 50 people. So you can imagine how big their craft was if they had 50 people. And apparently it floated as well. And when it came in, the wings would deploy. So it, through space, it never had the wings open. And then as it came into Earth's atmosphere, the firmament, when it finally got through the atmosphere, it deployed its wings. It says it in the thing. So, but how big was that? And it landed on water. So, our spaceships, we can, barely hold 2 people, and so they're a lot more advanced than us. I know I talked about on some of my videos, how can they be that advanced and yet use swords? But when you, as I say, I'm rereading the thingy, the reason why is because they didn't want projectile weapons because it's too easy to kill, and that's the reason why when Enlil realised that he knew where the weapon stash was, they totally allowed him to be God again, even though after everything that he'd done. So yeah, they could quite easily send tablets, all sorts of tablets from Nibiru. Sorry, I'm just reading questions. Does the RH Askenzenna Jew? I'm terrible at pronunciations. I'm sure I'm good at something, but pronunciations, isn't it? Jew or Greek have any significance with being connected with the Anunnaki? I'm not sure about the religious side of the thing, because to me, religion started with Abraham, who was just basically an offspring of the Anunnaki, wasn't an Anunnaki, and he could see humans as well as the Nephilim. So basically, we call them the Nephilim. They're the offspring of the Anunnaki, even though Adam and Eve was actually a Nephilim as well. So if you're going to, just because Nephilims, we associate with giants, they weren't all giants, but apparently Adam and Eve were tall, taller than what they should have been. So the Nephilim Abraham was one of the Nephilim on that bloodline, not from the 300,000 years human bloodline. And I think Abraham could see what was going on about, worshipping this, worshipping that god, because Enlil and Enki were gods, and there was 12 gods on the planet at the time, and that's how they wanted it, just 12 gods. Ninshirag, obviously the sister, and so on. So I think Abraham thought, hang on a minute, I'm smarter than these other humans, the ones that were created 300,000 years ago. And I think generally, and I'm not being disparaging to anyone, but I think generally they were smarter, because when you read the text, it talks about them being taught things as opposed to the humans being taught things. So whether or not it's because they were taught things or not, but anyway, language, for example, was probably being taught to the Nephilim, which was the offspring of the Anunnaki and humans, compared to just the humans. And so I think Abraham thought, hang on a minute, I could probably make these humans, not the Nephilim, make these humans do what I want, because they're, going around picking berries and Christ knows what for the gods or the Anunnaki. I'll be a god, or I'll be a leader. So I think he knocked up the first religion from that reason. I mean, that's, if you read everything, it kind of, the logic seems that that's how it plays out, because I can't see him knowing about an almighty being when the Anunnaki didn't talk about them. So it just seems that way. And then of course down the line, others thought, hang on a minute, if he's got these little humans, because you've got to remember the Nephilim were probably taller than the humans that were created. Other people probably thought, hang on a minute, if he's doing that, I'll do that. Right, I'll come up with this religion and that religion. And before you know it, there's a whole bunch of religions that don't all make sense to each other. And that's the way I think, down the line, the Jews and everything else, all those religions came about. That's just my opinion. What do you think that the elites that run the world believe? I do think they're into some sort of Satanism type stuff, and not Satanism a thing, but I think they're into worshipping something negative. Now, whether that's the jinn, the reptilians, or whatever, I think that they're doing it. Now, there is a story that they I can't remember who it was, David Wilcox, I don't know if you know who he is. I think he's the one that suggests that they worship this entity that's interdimensional, and they're trying to bring this creature through, or this whatever it is entity through. And to do it, they need, this is his words, David Wilcox, that to do it they need to bring they need to tell the population what's going on. So apparently they've wrote in a book which is in the British Museum of what's going to be happening to us. So we can't say no, you're not allowed to kill us all, because they've done part of whatever they're supposed to be doing. So if whatever's happening right now is to do with them bringing that creature through or whatever, I don't know. I mean, you go back to the Hellboy movie, and Nazis were trying the same sort of thing. I know the Hellboy movie is fiction, but the story goes that the Nazis were trying to bring through this type of entity interdimensionally, which is where the Hellboy story comes from. So if there is an entity out there that requires something to happen, then I don't know if this is what's happening now. So I don't know, but I do know, I do believe they worship. I've seen the pictures of leaders of the free world standing there in robes, and with you're just thinking these are, yeah. So okay, scrolling on. Is there Anunnaki technology that humans can use or already have used? They took it all back with them, from what I understand. The ones that lived on Earth for a long period, they couldn't leave. They couldn't go back to Nibiru, because they would literally die within a very short space of time. But obviously there was the ships coming backwards and forwards, so they were picking up. Hi, Mother Abigail. I just saw your name pop up there. So they would come down and pick up the leftovers. Now, we know that they didn't want humans to find out too much about everything, because there's a place called Eden, in Edin, in the ancient texts, and we all know it as Eden. Now, when Adam and Eve first went to Eden, they were told not to look around and not to touch a tree of knowledge. And it was knowledge, as opposed to a tree with an apple and an almighty being saying, don't touch the apple, and blah, blah, blah. So where Eden was, they had a lot of technology, and probably some maybe a stash of weapons or whatever, I don't know. So I think they were very careful in taking stuff back with them. And the things that was left here, the Nazis went looking for, if there was anything. They went all around the world. I know you've got the film Monuments Men looking for certain things, but they actually sent the SSS or SS, whatever it's called, around the world looking for, even to Tibet and things like that, trying to work out how the monks moved rocks with their voices using vocals. So if there was technology lying around, the military probably have found it. If not, we haven't found it anyway. If there were aliens, would we have solid evidence? But nothing. We have nothing, just photos and stories. Well, so what you're saying there is, if there were aliens, we'd have proof. Just stories and photos. So if I took a picture of you and you died, is that picture real, or is it just a story? Just because you're not around anymore doesn't mean that picture wasn't real of you. So no, there's evidence. I mean, obviously there's the trace evidence of UFOs, where they've landed, radiation where they've landed, all these kind of things. So there's trace evidence out there, and obviously you've got men in black turning up to people saying, "Do not divulge what you've seen, or give us your cameras," and things like that. Yeah, I mean, look at the Great Panda. The Great Panda was only found in the 60s, I believe, 60s or 70s, and it's been on this planet for however long. So, just because we can't see them, and we can actually see them at night. You get a night vision camera, a military grade one, pointing at the sky, and wait, and when you see them flying around, literally chasing each other, then what do you say to me then? Oh, it's just a story. So, I'm saying there you go. Obviously, the aliens don't want to be seen because certain aliens are kidnapping people. So, they're not going to introduce themselves. But they have, there's been huge sightings. I mean, the Phoenix Lights, for example. However, I do believe that was a test craft from the Lockheed Skunk Works. But there's huge groups of people who have seen UFOs prior to internet and prior to CGI. So my sister is Rh negative. We are mostly Scottish and Irish. I did a video on where I think the Nephilim ended up, the giant Nephilim at least, but not all of them were giants. But I think they ended up, the giants ended up in Scotland, whereas a lot of the Rh negatives also clumped together in Basque, I think it's called. Mother Abigail, if you want to find out more, Mother Abigail on TikTok knows everything about blood. Literally surprised the hell out of me what she knew. Tiller, there is solid evidence, it's just most are afraid of it. That's going back to alien craft. Show me an alien or a spacecraft, says Clark Kent. I'm guessing not the real Clark Kent, but at least he's got the right picture. It's Christopher Reeve as opposed to any of those other Supermen that are not Christopher Reeve. You can tell which Superman I grew up with. So you want a picture of an alien spacecraft? Okay, show me a picture that you've took of a giant panda. I'll wait. You haven't got one? Why not? Well, because it's hard to get. Oh, is it? Sorry. And you do realise that they're craft. Now there is, as I mentioned right at the beginning of this 3-hour video that I've now seemed to have been doing. There are pictures out there of them. Like Linda Moulton Howe's got some fantastic pictures of greys, dead ones, but still pictures of greys. So, but you'll just say they're fake. So where do we draw the line? I mean, look at the Travis Walton case. 6 eyewitnesses plus Travis Walton was abducted. 6 lie detector tests for each one of these people that saw Travis Walton get taken, and they all passed, which is pretty much unheard of. You don't normally, if someone's lying, one of them would have cocked up. So, but you'll probably say that they're all lying. So at what point, Betty and Barney Hill, traces on her jacket of this luminous stuff under a certain light that wasn't there. Obviously she's not got, and they examined it, and it's not from this earth. They don't know where it come from. Their car had the same thing. Their car had radiation on it. So at what point do you say, okay, all right, it's real, or do you just going to keep saying no, it's not real, it's not real? Billy Meyer took pictures from the 50s, 60s and 70s of UFOs. The guy's got one arm, he lives in Switzerland, lives on a farm. But he's got them because the Palladians contacted him and was telling him stuff, and he's got it all written down. And so, but at what point do you say it's real? I mean, if you're just going to keep saying it's not real, then nothing we show you will ever be good enough. So Sorry, Clark Kent, as much as I like Clark Kent. I'm H negative, O negative, and oh my god, I have abilities like crazy. That's from NBF Girl. If you can make money, that's a good ability. I don't mean to sound rude, but no, I was just joking with you. No, I mean, according to Mother Abigail, certain people that's got certain blood types can have these ESP type extrasensory perception. So, if you have, try and utilize it in some way. I don't mean to sound rude, but if you can, if you can benefit from it, hopefully you can. Just scroll down. Good evening to Bernadette, who's wrote. Good evening. Aliens play. Sorry. Impatience wrote. Aliens play any role in government BS? Question mark. They probably, from what I've heard right way back from day one when I first started looking into this, there is an alien or aliens in charge of the elites, and then the elites. There's like. Well, you've heard of 13 families, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and so on. I would add Bill Gates to that now because he's got so much power, it's just stupid. So what's the goal of the vaccine? What vaccine? Think about it. What a vaccine is supposed to help? I don't know any vaccine that's helping at the moment. Sorry to sound bad, but everything that I hear is not, it's not. It runs out after 3 months, and people are dying from it, and people still catch it. So to me, there's no such thing as a vaccine. Sorry, it's awful. Sheep need to wake up. Hazy's wrote. Absolutely. I would rather be homeless than take the vaccine, says Mary. And just scrolling down. Jimmy, TikTok times 10. Thank you, whatever that is. Not sure. I'm still learning TikTok. Lily's wrote, can someone update me? My blood pressure went way down. I'm guessing did you have the thing? Is that what you're referring to? Sorry. Sometimes I'm way behind on these questions. I didn't expect so many people to join on. Normally on a 12 o'clock noon UK Monday, I get like 20 people with like a handful of questions, and now I've been stuck here for 3 hours nearly. I've got fired for refusing the you-know-what. I believe in my thereafter. Tiller, I'm sorry to hear that. It's really sad, isn't it? It's just, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's the sheep that's killing the people, really. It's the ones that say, yeah, I'm just doing my job because they told me to. And, that's exactly what happened in World War II. Sorry, I was just putting these people in this camp. Oh, they didn't come out? Well, I don't know. I just got told to put them in there. Yeah, right. Just scrolling down. Demigods. So, demigods are technically... Adam and Eve was a demigod, direct offspring of an Enki, of Enki, which was a god. So yeah, I'll be getting to demigods soon on my videos, going through all of them, because obviously Poseidon and Neptune is Enki, but in different locations, because you've got to remember they live a lot longer than we do. So any offspring that they had with humans are demigods. Now you could also call them Nephilim, but yeah, which would explain why some of these demigods have got abilities that more normal humans wouldn't have. Like Hercules and Hermes and all those others. Just scrolling. Mary's wrote, so am I made from evil? I'm white with blue eyes and my sister is O negative blood type. I wouldn't say you're evil. I would say that obviously it depends on who your ancestors bred with and so on and so forth. We're talking thousands of years back, so you diluted quite a lot, I'm sure. But I I think you probably would have been one of the Anunnaki type offspring off of the Anunnaki and the humans. And then obviously down the line, the humans, or the Nephilim, should we say, or demigods, whatever you want to call the ones after, that were offspring off of the Anunnaki. Now, if they only had relationships with themselves instead of the humans that were there, which I think would have probably been darker skinned, and then only them had relationships. So to start with, they would have probably been olive skin. But if over thousands of years they just kept breeding with the same colour, then that's probably why there's white people there. But you've got to remember that some of the demigods, or Nephilim, or offspring of the Anunnaki, and humans also bred sadly with, according to mainstream, with Neanderthals and some of the other hominids that was here. And so did the humans that were here that the Anunnaki created, also bred with the hominids. So we've got different colours, different species, all humanoid though. I'm just scrolling down. Tila's wrote, I'm doing well selling on eBay. It can all be done off grid. Good for you. Was Jehovah an alien? Let me just have a drink. Sorry. I was going to watch a film tonight and all. Was Jehovah an alien? I wouldn't have said an alien as in an external alien. If anything, same as Noah and same as Jesus. Well, Jesus, I think, might have been a hybrid from little greys. That's just my take on it. But Jehovah, I think, probably was somewhere along the lines, like possibly a demigod or something like that. Which technically is still an alien as such, because it's not indigenous to Earth. Was Jesus an Anunnaki? Mary Lynn's asked. I think just if you go back to the original, again, I go always back to the original. It's not worth reading Bibles. And I don't mean to sound bad saying that. If you go back to the original translations, now proper translations as well. So there's this priest that was a priest that's now still a priest, but he's now realised that if you go back to the original writings and translate them again now, knowing what we know now, Mary literally was forced to have this be impregnated. Literally what it says. And Jesus came out with the glowing skin and everything, just like Noah did. So either Jesus was an offspring of Anunnaki and a human again, but for some reason or other having glowing skin, or he was an offspring of a little grey doing genetic modifications. So, and the reasons why I say that is when you go back to, I can't remember the guy's name, I think I've done a video on it, but when you read what he's translated, the actual original texts about Jesus, it blows your mind right up till him on the being crucified. He's talking about looking up at the craft up in the sky saying, why have you forsaken me, etc. He's not talking to God, he's actually talking to a craft spaceship. So I don't think Jesus was the son of a god, as so to speak, but I think he was something special to him. Just scrolling down, I'm probably going to have to call it a night soon. I've got things to do. Just scrolling down. Love this kind of stuff. It makes you go... Sorry, Rick's wrote, love this kind of stuff. It makes you go, what if? Yeah. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just throwing my ideas out there. Are the Anunnaki on this planet? Not that I'm aware of. They come and go. They trade with the military. Donna's wrote, what's Jehovah's alien agenda? I don't think Jehovah was an alien as such. Why the Anunnaki reduce the human life from thingy to thingy? So I yeah. So the story goes that so that's from MEM. The story goes that the Anunnakis reduced our life expectancy, because when you have Noah, up until Noah, they were living sort of, his ancestors were living 900 years, some of them, or 300 years, depending which ancestor going back, Enoch, etc., etc. And now, obviously, suddenly we can only live to 100 years. Now, I personally don't think they went round and injected every human on this planet so that they would stop. And I don't think they done half of the people. I don't think they had anything to do with the limiting our lifespan. I just think over time, where we inbred with, not inbred, but where we bred with each other's different types of things and stuff, I just think I think it plateaued out compared to what it was with the Anunnaki, because you've got to remember the Anunnaki lived for hundreds of thousands of years. So when they had offspring with human people, then they lived for, like Noah, etc. They lived for 900 years, etc. But I think it just plateaued. I can't imagine them going around changing. There's no benefit to them for us living, 900 years to 100 years. No benefit whatsoever for them to go around if they're going to bug out with the gold anyway. So I can't see any logic on them doing that. NBF says Noah wiped out the demigods and now only 15% of us are left. I wouldn't have said Noah wiped it out. I mean, if you read the text, clearly he was advised by Enki to build a ship. So I don't think. And now Stitchin, kind of, this is where researchers do change their mind. So in the 12th planet, Sitchin says that he believes it was a ice shelf that broke off of the Antarctic that caused the flooding. I can't see that, because that wouldn't have caused the flooding, the 40 days and 40 nights. But later on, that was his first book, Sitchin's first book. But if you go and read the book that he did with the Lost Book of Enki, he talks about the Anunnaki talking about radioing through to here on Earth and saying, listen, our scientists on Nibiru have worked out that when we come back round, you hi there to Saman. I feel like something's happening and I missed it. That's from Lily. No, well, I was just probably talking about the thing that's going on now with the world. That's probably the thing you feel like you missed. But I'll stick this on YouTube anyway at some point. Probably not tonight now. But so you can listen to it again. Your view on the soul trap when you die. That's from Lewis. So you go. Well, basically, there's not really a trap. I wouldn't have said. I would have just said your entity leaves your body and decides whether or not it crosses over or not. If it doesn't cross over, then it's still around here, and you can communicate via clairvoyance, etc. If it does cross over, then you don't really talk to it anymore, and that's it. So I don't think there's a trap. Now there is the glitch, and if that's what you're referring to, where spirits get stuck in a loop. Now that's a thing that supposedly happens, where it can't get out of this time loop and it just repeats over and over. And I mean, a great example of that is a film called High Spirits, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I liked it. It's with Steve Guttenberg, if anyone's old enough to remember who he is, and Peter O'Toole, and Daryl Hannah, and Liam Neeson. Anyway, High Spirits, yeah. So basically, there's a ghost. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't already seen it, but there's a ghost that repeats itself over and over again, doing something. So yeah, there's that, if that's what you mean, referring to a trap. Kung Fu has wrote, what's your source of this knowledge? 30 years of reading while you're out partying and everything else. I wasn't. I didn't go to university, and that's why I've got this knowledge, because if I went to university funded by the Rockefellers, you can guarantee I wouldn't know anything. I'd be one of the sheep going, there's no such thing as aliens. But because I didn't go to university, I know all of this stuff, and I'm open-minded enough. My Estad wrote, my uncle could and you could talk for eternity. I don't normally talk this much. It's just because there are people asking questions. Um, Maybe I don't understand Anunnaki agenda. This is EM wrote or plan, but I think I don't like it. Well, the Anunnaki's gone now. Really, there's nothing to worry about them. What do you think about shadow people? Been asked that a few times by people. There's not much to go on. I don't think they're evil. I think they're possibly interdimensional, and they just literally come through as a shadow. No one's I've spoke to has said that they've seen a shadow person. Obviously, they're scared of them, but there's no evil intent done to anyone that I'm aware of. Obviously, my research is limited to people that I either listen to or talk to. But Yasmin's wrote, just joined. What's the conversation about? Unfortunately, I'm flicking through different parts here. CERN is a portal. Jimmy's wrote. There's stories come out of CERN saying that they have created these things, and at one point a dinosaur was seen. So Mother Abigail says, hi guys, wave. Mother Abigail sent me roses, thank you. Could have done with a cup of tea this time. I'm joking. Yep, they just launched CERN. Haven't heard anything about it since. It's possible we have some species of interdimensional war. Is it possible we have with some species interdimensional war? EM. I don't know. I've never heard of us having interdimensional war. I know Corey Good has said that he's been on, not just Corey, but other people, on Mars, and there's another race on Mars, and we're fighting them. And I just thought to myself, regardless of whether he's telling the truth or not, that's typical, isn't it? It's just typical of us fighting. It's not us, it's military, the people that want control. You can't just have a peaceful relationship with, an alien race. We have to go war on it. And I can guarantee you it's probably us that started it. Oh, someone's Mother Abigail sent a coffee. This is lovely, thank you. 99 messages say you did this without even knowing about my joke about the tea. Is it that they have a statue of Shiva and the god of destruction in front of it? I'm getting to Shiva, I'm getting to the Romans, I'm getting to Greeks, etc. And my throat's going at the moment. So bear with the videos. If you haven't already watched any of my videos, please watch them. Preferably in order, because it makes more sense. Because I did it that way right from the get-go, because I knew if people watched just one video and I said there's an alien, they'll just think, idiot. But when you watch them from one onwards, you sort of like go, aha. And someone's just sent me an expert video thing flicking up on the screen there, but thank you. But yeah, so if you do watch the videos in order, it hopefully makes you, and eventually we'll get to Shiva, so I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I feel like I'm eating a forbidden fruit now. Estad wrote, it's time for your bed, isn't it, Estad? With your red eyes. I think that was you that said that. I've seen a UFO. This is Cornea. I've seen a UFO, and so did my granddad when he was young. Wow, okay. Be interested to know whether or not you have seen it more like they've abducted you, and that's why because they normally abduct after the family tree, the family bloodline. I'm just scrolling down. Pandas are a hoax. My God, am I that far behind? Lewis Miguel's wrote, Panda Lives Matter. Wow, there must be more than 99 messages, so I'm probably going to have to finish at 9, but I'll have to keep doing more of these in the evening, on the weekends, because those are good questions. Just scrolling down, sorry. Blue sphere being, right, so Donna's wrote, blue sphere beings, Corey Good experiencer. So the I think, was it you that mentioned blue before? Because I know that he says there's a sphere being alliance, And then he talks about the blue avians, but I've never heard of the blue sphere beings. So I don't know if you all get mixed up, or if he's then since later said about blue sphere beings. But I know he talked about Sphere Being Alliance and the blue avians. I'm still out on Corey Good because he's probably one of the only people that I've ever heard him talking about the Sphere Being Alliance and the blue avians. And because he's the only one, I can't say for sure whether he's telling the truth or not. I'm not saying he isn't, but I need more people. Cornelius wrote, I'm from Basque blood. That's the majority of the people in that little area has RH negative. Jimmy's wrote, now all Northern Ireland got the red hand as there's flag. Two giants was racing one and one dropped its. Can't see what the rest of it is. Scrolling down. People are talking amongst themselves. Dad wrote, what does everyone think of Ed Casey? He's the person known as a sleeping prophet from the 40s, I think. Obviously more than 40s, but more well known during that time. I mean, he says a lot of stuff. It was all written, a lot of it was written down, so people can go back and check it. I do believe there are people that can see the future, etc. So just scrolling on. Just trying to, because I haven't got long now, I want to finish it in about 3 minutes. So, but I will put this on YouTube at some point. So if you did want to listen to the whole of this 3-hour video that I wasn't expecting to do, to be honest, I was only going to do half hour. My bomb's gone numb now as well. Bill Gates has made millions off this vaccine. Yes, it's no coincidence, is it? And so has Rishi Sunak. He actually co-founded, is it Moderna or AstraZeneca? So it's funny how the ones that want us to have it are the ones benefiting. Funny that. Mary's wrote, they're messing with our RNA using that vaccine. I'm out. Good. Peter Plays has sent a Castle Fantasy times 11. I'm not sure what that is. And then he's then sent another one for times 15. But I'm not sure what the Castle Fantasy is, but it sounds cool. Thank you very much. Can you publish a recording of this live? I got it in the middle. Yes, it will be. All my lives are on YouTube under Our True History. So this will go on there at some point. Probably not tonight. Peter's sent another, this time 17 castles. I'm getting swamped with castles now. Now he's having a laugh now. Peter Plays has sent Castle Fantasy times 55. Help! Have you heard of Tao T. Douglas? Ty T. Douglas? Not that I'm aware of, although I'm getting a bit tired now. Are aliens here because we're using technology? Their technology, not. They're here for lots of reasons. Different aliens, different reasons. One is genetics. My battery looks like it's dying as well. If I cut out, I can see I'm virtually on 0%. So the timing's just right. They're here for different reasons, but not for their technology. And Sarah's just sent a heart. Thank you. Oh, now look, Peter's given me 99 castles. What am I going to do with these? And now all these things are flashing in front of me. There's coffees and whipped creams and all sorts of stuff going on. Oh, thank you. I don't know if anyone else can see all this, but it's like flashing up. Oh dear, what have I done to deserve all these coffees and castles and stuff? What do you think about archangels? Archangels to me are just Anunnaki that's higher up. That's if you don't know why I say that, either watch all my videos or go back and listen to this. I do explain what archangels are. and it's 9 o'clock now. As much as I'm loving all this ice cream's coming my way that's being sent to me, I'm going to have to shoot. But thank you so much for your excellent questions. Forgive me for not getting through, because by the looks of it, I'll probably never get through. There's so many questions. But thank you, everybody, and I'll stick this up on YouTube at some point. And take care, everybody. Thank you. Bye. Bye.